Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Well, it's the morning after some pretty major storms that came through my area, moved eastward, Kentucky, Tennessee. So some pretty serious storms it's happened over the last 24 hours. And we did really well here. We did get some wind and stuff, but no damage. But there's been quite a bit of severe damage all around us. Just a little south of us, a tornado, and that this isn't official yet, but I was monitoring it, and it was showing 140 mile an hour winds. So we're around an EF3 tornado. It did some damage. Was busy all day yesterday because of that. We were running like crazy between yesterday having our monthly meeting, answered a couple of medical calls, then the storms came through and had to very rapidly shift from doing a meeting to getting everybody to a shelter, opening our shelters, and then dealing with storm damage after that. So it's been a quite of a whirlwind for the last 24 hours. We are still getting information. Our emergency response team's been in contact continually with the Office of Emergency Management here in the county and assessing, what needs are in the area. At this point, I don't really have a whole lot of answers because it's the morning after, so there's things still being assessed. But so far, we're hearing that there were no fatalities and no reports of any serious injuries. So that's very good, but definitely some pretty intense storms through the area. So I thought I'd just throw at you some random news, I guess, because there was some interesting things that's happened over the last 24 hours. Remember a couple of weeks ago that big sunspot that was spitting out all those solar flares and stuff? Well, it's made its way back around. This morning shot out an X3 solar flare, so we will see how violent this sunspot is, and are we in for some more? Or is it going to be less intense? Who knows? The reports are saying that it looks like it's still just as big, so we may be in for another wild ride. Now, could all of these storms that's happened over the last week or two been because, at least partially, maybe it's a bit intensified because of those solar flares? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there are certainly some that say that it has been, and others say no. So I couldn't tell you, but it looks like that, there's some potentially more solar flares coming at us. It's been reported that there's been a skirmish between Israeli forces and Egyptian forces on the southern border there of Israel, and some shots were fired and an Egyptian soldier's been killed. I've not seen anything else to report other than that, but could this cause something to, escalate, expand? I don't know. It's a possibility. The big thing that I wanted to report, though, is something that I talked about several weeks ago, saying it's, when it's going to happen, and it apparently it has. They have found H5N1. Let me use the little quotation things. H5N1 has now been found in beef cattle. So up until now, they have found it in dairy. Not necessarily in the cows itself, but in the milk. And that's why they've been pushing this. Don't drink raw milk. Don't drink raw milk. It's going to kill you. Even though folks like myself and many of you have been drinking raw milk for many, many, many years, and it's been fine. And I'll continue to drink it. But they've been testing beef cattle, and apparently they have now found it in beef. So, the question is because the narrative for a while has been to, beef are bad, cows are bad, dairy's bad. We need to, they're killing the environment, cow farts are causing the earth to warm. Beef is bad, don't eat it. You won't eat any meat. Remember the World Economic Forum little thing, you won't eat meat, you'll eat bugs. They've been pushing this. And so we've often wondered, at what point will there be some type of disease or, thing that will cause the death of lots of cattle, or they have to, cull a bunch of cattle because there's a lot of cattle. And if they're trying to get rid of them, well, what are you going to do with them? Is this that thing? I don't know. I don't have that answer. But this H5N1 is really, it's kind of getting some legs to it, okay? And I'm not 100% sure it's the next pandemic, but it is growing. And more people and more farms and stuff are getting it, and it's starting to look like it's the thing. And if it's the one that they want to use, it's the one that they've manipulated enough, and that they're, when they get to the point that they're like, okay, we've manipulated this virus enough, now we're ready for it to go into the public. Could be serious. They're saying that the mortality rate on this thing is bad, really bad, way worse than the previous scamdemic. So we'll see. Yesterday at our meeting, and it went really well. It did. We had a good crowd, between it being Memorial Day and weekend, and then there were storms, predicted all over the area yesterday. I personally did not expect a big turnout. I didn't think there'd be a lot of people show up because of those two reasons, and ended up having a really, really good turnout, a great crowd of people, and actually got to speak with a coroner that came, and an actual county elected coroner. Did not speak, but probably will at some point in the future. And we got to talking about the whole COVID pandemic and stuff, and she is very much right in line with all of us. Was saying that how was giving me some kind of insight data and experience of how it was such a big scam, which we all know that. But from her perspective of being a coroner during the pandemic, and it was very insightful. The point is that the last one, we all know about that. The next one, probably going to follow similar patterns, but it's very possible it could be worse. Remember, most of you, I think, at least the ones that I've spoke with, have said something to the effect that the previous one, the COVID, was really more of kind of a beta test. It was kind of testing their methods, right? To see how they worked, how they were accepted. The next one could be actually really deadly. In fact, folks like Bill Gates and stuff have said that. So I'm not telling you that if this H5N1 is the big one, if it is, I'm not telling you to panic, because at least as much as we know, you and I know, there are ways to treat things. The body is an amazing work of art. It's an amazing creation. And I fully believe that the body is capable of healing itself if it's properly fed, if it's given the right food, the right nutrients. And so we have to find that, if that's what this is. And I'm sure there'll be many experts out there as this develops to try to help figure out a more natural way to do it, because they're gonna be pushing stuff. They're gonna be pushing it hard on everyone, and the very likelihood of seeing lockdowns, curfews, all types of movement restrictions, I think are very real. As much as some people may still to this day kind of roll their eyes at that, oh, it's not good. Really? Do you not remember what happened like 4 years ago? Do you not remember how, at least in some areas, people were being pulled over by the police and ticketed and stuff because they were out moving about, because they didn't have the proper paperwork to prove that they were worthy, that they were special enough, had the privilege to leave their home while everyone else didn't. How pastors and stuff were thrown in jail. I've had so many reports over these last few years of people, telling me that they were at a church service and they decided to have it outdoors because, we can't have it inside. And the local police officer showed up and was threatening to throw them in jail or ticket them if they didn't leave. I mean, what kind of country do we live in? What kind of law enforcement, what kind of government do we have that would go to a church and tell them that they have to break it up, folks, or we get thrown in jail. And I know I'm rehashing a lot of stuff that's gone on in the last, several years ago, but we can't forget that, folks. We can't forget the insanity that happened, and the fact that our government on local, state, and federal levels actually went over that edge so rapidly to an area that we would have never thought possible in America. And this is the big clincher, the vast majority of Americans just fell for it. They just, yes please and more, yes please and more is what is it. It kind of blew my mind. We can't forget that, folks, because the odds of that coming around soon are, I think, getting pretty good. I mean, there's been enough warnings. There's been, they want something like that, maybe even worse. And so is this H5N1 the thing? I don't know, but it is growing that way. And so it's possible that that's going to be it. So I would be cautious and be getting yourselves prepared, stocking up, making sure you're stocking up on, the natural supplements, herbs, things like that are pretty good when treating illnesses like this, because you may need them before you know it. I want to just give a shout out and an honor to our fallen heroes, fallen vets. It is Memorial Day, and it's, I know that the left-wing spin media is trying to push it as another type of day for someone else that deserves no honor. But this is a day of remembrance for our fallen heroes, and we should not forget that, regardless of the political state of where we're at now as a country or our military. Folks, we've got to be getting our houses in order. We need to be preparing ourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.